So, what I dreamed of doing was breaking down cotton balls back into sugar and then turning them into candy. I didn't just want to make any candy, though, and I specifically wanted to make cotton candy. My biggest challenge was that I didn't want to have to use any specialized equipment or weird chemicals, and I wanted it to be as simple as possible. I also ideally wanted the sugar that I made to taste good, or at the very least, not poison me. Instead of using enzyme to break down the cotton, I would just use acid, and I poured it directly. It was now time to add the cotton, and I started with just one ball. I then poured it into 456 milliliters of boiling hot water. I went and got some of my food grade calcium carbonate, which is basically just chalk. I would be using this to neutralize all the sulfuric acid. I had to make it into a slurry. When everything eventually cooled down to around room temperature, I started adding the goopy chalk. What I had now was hopefully a mixture of calcium sulfate and dirty sugar water. I poured in as much as I could into the filter, but it wasn't even close to fitting everything. I was only able to add what looked like half of it, and I was gonna have to do this in two batches. And I started pulling out the water. In the flask below, I was left with a bunch of dark liquid. This was all hopefully some dirty sugar water, but up until now, I had no idea if I had actually made any sugar. The only problem was that it was still full of impurities, side products, and leftover acid. Now, to clean the dirty sugar solution, I just had to pour it through. However, the main issue now was that there was still way too much water, and I had to get rid of most of it. So, after pouring it all into this large dish, I threw it into a food dehydrator. I took it out. So I covered it, and I put it in the freezer for a couple days. When I took it out, I thought that it was looking really promising. However, it wasn't. To dry it, I put together this little setup. I slowly turned up the heating, and I dropped some pieces into the machine. But then there was suddenly a bunch of nice fluff. I then quickly used the stick, and I tried collecting it. It tastes like regular cotton candy, just a lot more burnt.